thank you everybody for coming to our inaugural Artist of the Week with Nan Newman. So Nan is an artist in Abbotsford, and actually I'm going to let you introduce yourself because you can probably do it much better than I can. So,
well, you got the name right, so we're good to go after that. Yes. Thank you for having me, Kelly. You've asked me a couple times to do this, and each year I scoot away from you. But no, for some reason we're going to do it this year. My name is my full name's Nancy, and I've always not cared for it. It was my grandmother's name, and she actually named me, and I just always felt I was nameless kind of thing. So I shortened it to Nan, and I've been that through my whole artist career and almost all my life. That's the number one question I get asked, and then from after that, then I get asked about my art. So I thought that's how it came about.
huh.
I came to Abbotsford, and the first thing I did was join the Fraser Valley Water Media Society to meet people, and just to kind of get to know the community a bit. And it was the best thing that I ever did. I've met some wonderful people, and they've definitely been there for me and helped me, show me the ropes through stepping it up a notch and becoming a full professional artist. Yeah, so there you go.
That's it in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, yeah.
But you're not from Abbotsford, though. You came from, was it?
No, I was born and raised in Campbell River,
Oh, okay, so you're
BC,
still
on
BC. You're a BC
Vancouver
girl.
Island. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
So how did you start doing art? Like it sounds like you're quite young. Is that the case or?
Yeah, in high school, I had a wonderful, wonderful art teacher, and she taught me, and everyone that took it, she just ground the foundation of the fundamentals of the basics of art. And from there, I was just amazed of what you can do. And high school can be a rough place, and I found I took to cartooning, even though they weren't great, they were crude, but it got me through because I could make fun of people with my art, and it made people laugh. And so I skimmed through high school kind of doing that.
Hmm.
When And then of course you go off and you have life, and I was gifted two beautiful daughters, and when they were teenagers, I guess I never let it go. And when they were young teenagers, they would phone around the stores stating that their mother could paint beautiful things on their windows for Christmas. And I didn't even know about it.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And I did that for, I don't know, I want to say 6 years. Every Christmas, that was what I did.
Oh, you had your little promoters going for you.
Yeah,
For you.
that's right. Yeah, even they could tell I just was kind of humble about it. And then it just grew from I ended up painting murals in one of the in a school and private homes. But I have a reputation of kind of going out on my own, and I don't really mean to do it, but I was hired once to paint for a country club. Okay. And I was never that good at spelling. So instead of Island Country Club, I missed out a couple letters. So it ended up being Island Club. And I remember getting this phone call. I can't have that this is a professional building. You have to come back and change this. So yeah, I've always got those kind of stories. Never did lose those. And then when I came to putting my art in the first shows, I did it on my own, and I did watercolors, and I went from tree to tree just with jute rope and clothes pegs, because framing was out of the question for the for me. And I just thought, well, maybe the people could just take their little pieces and do that themselves. And I remember it was in a campground. See, who would, only Nan would come out, let's hit a campground for doing this, but I did. And I sold every one in 2 days. I don't know if it was the fact they really liked the little paintings, or the fact that I was actually selling artwork out of a campground. But anyways, so when I worked my way up to the first professional show here in Abbotsford, it was at our local library. And again, I was kind of green to how to go about putting that together. And so I just went to Michael's, but I didn't realize that I bought this little kit that was going to get me. My society got to know me really well that first hanging, because it was missing that hanging feature that they're really going to stay on the wall. Things were kind of coming apart at the seams, so to speak. And I remember taking that pretty hard. I do remember breaking into tears when I came home. I remember that. But I learned my lesson, and I learned it well, because now when we go in, now when we go in another show, I can screw those U rings and D rings, and I can do it in my sleep. And but these are fun stories I'm sharing with, because it's what you do. You have these stories in, and that's how you progress and move along, and I have. So yeah. And this past year, at the local library, we held a show, and I ended up not realizing it, but I ended up with COVID, and I didn't really realize I had it. I just thought I had a headache from hell, and it was following me around every day through the whole show.
No.
So needless to say, our wonderful president, David Tinkner, he was there, and he was doing his speech, as he does. And some people, a couple lovely ladies from Opus had come out for the first time, and they presented this certificate in excellence. And when they called my name, this is what it kind of looked like.
Oh, cool.
When they called my name, I know a couple of people beside me said, well, Nan, that's you. And I said, no, it can't be. That can't be me. It was like surreal. I remember, I think I floated up and floated back, and then took it home, took about 6 Advil, and crawled into bed. But again, BB and me, it would never have happened any other way. That's the way it should have gone down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meant to be. Well, I don't think there's anything such thing as mistakes either. You learn from these things, and sometimes they have to be big things, right? And you did.
Yeah.
From your.
That's true, Kelly. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I know how you describe your artistic style, but tell everyone how you would describe your artistic style and the themes you explore, because they're not always, you don't kind of go with just one theme. Seems like you have animals and different.
Yeah. Well, I'd have to say, I have my one daughter, she's such as yourself, she's a professional photographer. And so she sends me, I swear that she pays these things off, and she's got pet seals and such. So I can choose from, her photos, and I do. I painted the crows, and I never could have had that shot without her getting me that shot for crows flying and such. I kind of go with, I've done this long enough to know that if I was to do a giant, let's just say a giant tiger eating a lamb, that someone may not want to hang that on their wall. I've learned subject matter it is kind of a, when you look at it, would someone actually put that on their wall, it kind of makes you think, well, maybe a little black kitty cat, because I have one, maybe somebody else does too. And so I take care of my subject themes, and I have found that landscape seems to be very popular. People seem to want to have that because I think it's as humans here, and we see, it's something we can all relate to. We would all love to take that whimsy walk in that forest and have a nice, hear birds and such. So it's pleasant. So I find I try to paint pleasant or something that someone could maybe experience. If it wasn't pleasant, it would be serene or kind of lonely, or I'm not 100% sure how to nail this down, Kelly. But the ones that I do, I'll put it this way: I put 110% in it. I try to make that viewer feel something. And when I do that, and I see a piece walk away, I'm like, okay, I've got paintings stacked up like cordwood, and I haul them off to the recycling. Some I paint over, but there, once in a while, you get that feeling like, yeah, I was pleased with that. And if anyone says this, honing your craft is easy, well, I'd like to meet them, because this is it takes dedication. We'll put it that way. It takes a lot of dedication.
Sure. I guess they call it practice for a reason, right? Because it's a
Yeah,
continual
absolutely. Yeah.
practice.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always been a morning person. And so I spend it, looking at the sunrise. I'm really lucky I get a chance to see that here. And I'll just sit down for a couple hours, and I find the most progress I make personally as an artist is when I play and this isn't a painting. I just want to try a theory or try this against that. And some of my hot ideas that I come up with in the middle of the night, they're really not so hot by the time dawn comes. I'm like, geez, what was I thinking? Yeah. I really, really love that old world feeling somehow. I even decorate this condo like that. If you walked in here, you think it's the 19th century. I'm not really much for modern, I don't think. I don't know why. I get teased about that. I wouldn't mind if the power went off. I just light those cool little lamps, and I'd be sad. So
Really?
I think when I paint, somehow that's incorporated into my style per se.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
definitely get an older kind of feeling from it, like a time past.
time passed. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and yeah, but yeah, I and now my secret to how I do this, I remember that on the questionnaire. I'm like, someone's asked me if I have a secret. Imagine that. Yeah, I think we all want to know that answer in artwork. I know whenever I research books and you see the secret to painting the sea, I'm like, really? They've actually written it? There is a secret to this? I'm like, okay. I found there truly is no secret, but there definitely are tips that I'm willing to share today if somebody else wants to take a go of it. I treat the acrylic medium that I treat it like, I've never painted in oil, but I treat it as oil because I love that effect of oil. Just because of in a small place. And I just started with acrylics and battled with them. I thought, okay, I treat them like watercolor, like some books say, and that didn't go so good because I watercolor too. And watercolor is watercolor, but it wasn't the same effect as with acrylic. So then I tried, all those the gilt $100 things you buy to perk up the acrylic mediums, and there's thousands of them. I'm like, well, that was too shiny, that was too this, that was too that. So then finally I just said, Dan, you can't keep wasting your funds that way. Why don't you just use the paint? It is just paint, just use paint.
Right.
So once I did that, I was on my way. I felt more confident, and I could paint without worrying about all the other aspects of it. And so I think now by doing that, you have to make your decision and stick with it and put it down, whether it's right or wrong, and just keep moving on. And if it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's not a matter of right or wrong, but it's a matter of kind of, I'll address that later, and I'll just got to keep going. And so what happens then, there's no blending. I once was believed that everything had to be smooth and such, and the day that I decided, oh, this is not you, just attack it, like you do dinner, like, you don't care for, just, and then I found, oh, okay, yeah, no blending, well, that works. So I know, and I'm just saying, this is just how I've gone about it over the years. I've seen beautiful works of smooth blended paintings out there, but it just doesn't feel right for me.
Right.
Yeah. And then once in a while I will do something called glazing, and that I save that up for just certain parts. And there's one medium that I do use, and it's thick and creamy, and House of Fine Art sells it, and I'm sure others do too. And I don't want to get up, but I'll show it at the end.
Okay.
That's the only one I use. And then I don't have to varnish or do anything to my paintings at the end, because I get the satin one, and so it's already done through me using it here and there. So that would be my secret sauce, is that one medium.
That's cool. So
Yeah.
you said you can make your acrylics look like oil? Is that
Yeah.
so? How would you
Yeah.
do that? Like,
You just
as a photographer, I know very little, but
I just used just pure paint, Kelly. Just pure paint. Yeah. Because it comes with its own texture and its own shine. And so once you start modifying it, I find it goes to the wayside real fast. And I also find if you overblend acrylic, it can turn what they call, well, I call it flat. Some call it muddy. You touch it once, you're in good shape. Touch it twice, it's iffy. 3 times, you're out. It's kind of like that. It has a tendency to wanna it dries flat to begin with, and so to get away from that, you just kind of use it a bit thicker and straight, and it'll stand up on its own.
cool.
And now I don't even think about it, hun. Now I put my paints out, and I don't even think about that part's gone now for me. I'm just thinking about making that cloud. I'll just think about making that cloud fluffy. I'm not thinking about how to now.
Right.
Once I got past all that. Yeah.
You've got your
So what do
groove.
you think?
You found your groove. So
Yes.
and I mean, that's a good lesson though, too. Like, you just do what works for you. And
Yeah. And it takes us all that time by yourself, locked behind that door, to figure this stuff out. You can head out there and you can find some answers, but I don't know. I think it's a battle between yourself, and the wits and the paint. And then somewhere along the line, you draw a truce and you both get along.
great.
Yeah.
So are there any specific artists or art movements that inspire you? Because it sounds like
Yeah,
definitely have.
absolutely. You betcha. I'd have to say this beloved gentleman here, if you can see, Vincent van Gogh, he definitely influenced me and always has. And some of his, I'll tell you why, but the one thing that intrigued me, I've always been intrigued with piracy and swashbucklers, and because I thought, to me, they were fun. They probably could be fun on rum, but I'm sure I didn't live in that era. But long story short, Vincent van Gogh, a lot of times he got his paint smuggled through him through a pirate.
Oh,
And that's
really?
kind of caught my eye. And I'm like, really? So he's a bit of a rebel.
Yeah.
Okay. And the fact that he could get along with the common man, such as, the laborers, and he could drink with the drinkers and enjoy the obviously he had a prostitute friend, one or two he painted, and they accepted him for who he was. I think he had a really kind of struggle with the elite in each era. We haven't changed any. There's the ones that intimidate you and the ones that haven't.
Right.
But it's separate from that. He was his own, like nobody ever did work. Like he expressed emotion, I guess, and to paint emotion is something that no one can teach. It's something, again, you have to, and that's what he did. He was such a high emotional man. In his paintings, you see what he was trying to get across.
For sure.
Yeah, it sounds like you might have switched to a different language. Am I talking in Arabic?
No, no.
That's good. I,
You're good.
should I just cancel this then? I don't know what to
Yeah,
do.
I don't know if maybe someone switched to Arabic.
So I'm just going to cancel. There you
Yeah,
go. I'm
yeah.
glad.
Good. Yeah,
Yeah,
so sorry for everyone listening. If you have any questions, please just put them in the chat, and after, you can ask Nan questions if you have them. So I just wanted to put that out there again for those who weren't here right at the beginning. Sorry. So get back to you, Nan. Um,
yeah.
I mean, you did talk about
Um,
your creative process somewhat from idea to finished artwork, but could you go into that a little bit? Because I mean, ideas
yeah,
must come to your head and then,
yeah. Ideas come to me. This is so lovely of you having me. And afterwards, people are going to say, wow, I never knew Nan got up to tinkle 9 times a night. And each time she has a different idea. For some reason, Kelly, they come to me in the evening. I guess I'm rested enough or not. I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah. So if I'm working on a piece of artwork, I'm working on it. I usually have 3 pieces on the go at a time. So I'll be just in the beginning of one, the middle of one, and the end of one all
right.
the time.
Mm,
And so I think I put, okay, so my thoughts into this one that I'm coming up to in the middle part. My process is I think about, okay, well, obviously it has to have a focal point. So what am I trying to say about that? So if my focal point per se is my black cat Harley, um, I'm like, I'm thinking, do I want him by himself, or do I want to surround him in a garden? And yeah, no, he's not the garden type, so my subject matter, I have to feel something from my subject matter.
right.
I just can't go in and just, if I have to have some form of connection to it. And I think that's where all the thought goes into it. And even if I'm driving or doing local marketing and, picking up groceries, my mind's on my piece of artwork that I'm working on. So I don't leave it. And then finishing it up with the paint, I always try to just stop when I'm getting to that point, because I've learned if I go over that point, I've overworked it, and like 3 days of work can go out the window because
Mm,
I went too far with it. So
right.
I've learned to less is more. Absolutely. I think less is more works for a lot of things, and it works in artwork. well.
For
Yeah.
sure. Do you
Yeah.
walk away from it and come back to it? Kind of
Oh,
like,
I do that too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because when you're up close to it, it's one thing, but you're right. When you take a rest and rest your eyes, you walk into the room, whatever is ailing the painting, it's just like, okay, there was a storm that hit. I didn't quite think that roof was that off, but yeah, that roof's got to be mended. It'll just jump out at you. Yeah. I don't worry anymore about architect. In the beginning, everything had to stand up straight and every window and pane had to be painted. I'm so past that. I
mm,
can now just take a swatch of light blue and there's a window. And yeah, at one time every pane went in, and no, I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable with myself where I'm at after all these years.
mm,
Um, and I think that is something that all of us should be. We should just be comfortable with ourselves, and know where we're at. Um, I don't know how, it's a hard one to put into words, but that's the best way I can say it.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
think
my
even just aging, I think we get more comfortable with just who we are. So maybe that translates to your art. Do you think that's kind of
I think so too. Yeah, I do, because it's a process. For me, anyways. I'm we're past the point that we're worried about. I think what people think. We're past that. I know we all still we're still, that comes into play, but not as much. Not It's a one thing that you can do. It's personal, that nobody can really do it but you. And I think that's the part that I really truly I buy into that. I believe that it's the one thing that only you can do. So truly, people, they either enjoy it and they're kind of in awe, or they don't.
Mhm.
They don't, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. Um, yeah. And I tell you, as far as colors go, it's a limited palette I use. And my one color I go to is magenta. For some reason, I can't really do a painting without magenta. I have, and they always seem to lack me. Like, what's missing then? Oh, magenta, you were out of it for a week.
So do you go back into the ones that don't and put a little bit in just to
I do, Kelly, I do.
like
Absolutely.
your little signature color?
Yeah, yeah, I don't know, that's just me. And I find what I've learned about this is, I would say many, many people love neutrals. Like they will come up to my work and they say, oh, Nan, look at this. But yeah, I couldn't hang that in my house. I have neutrals. And at one time I did try, I really tried um to tone it down per se, but then I was getting sad because I'm like, okay, Nan, yeah, there's a cloud. It looks real, but it's sure not zappy or whimsy, or so
Right.
then I had to go. I've landed in the middle per se, a little too over the hedge, but I've landed there. Yeah, so I studied the Zorn palette for I want to say a year, and I do like it. That's just your yellow ochre, um, and or orangey red. It once was called Vermeer, but it's like an orangey red, and a black and a white. And so that's pretty simple, right?
Mm,
And I tried and tried and tried, and I got a lot. I learned a lot about tone with that palette. I mean, I think that's a great one just to play with.
right.
Absolutely. So sometimes if I come in here and I'm like, oh, okay, that's the one I put out, and then I'll kind of put it, then I'll kind of put in my magenta, and there's another color that I can't live without, and that's Indian yellow. And there again, it's a story that I love. First, when I found out that Indian yellow was actually made in India, and they fed certain cows, certain fruits and vegetables, and collect their urine to make Indian yellow. I'm like, I gotta have that. But they don't do that anymore. Animal activists, which I am, stepped in and now they make it differently. But I'm like, wow, that's got to be some yellow.
No kidding.
Yeah, and it is. It's a warm yellow. And I find I tend to go to the warms. I'm not even in, no matter what I do, I'm to the warm.
Mm.
Yeah, except um, maybe when I'm caught in the kitchen, I might go to the cools, but normally I'm to the warms. I find my biggest frustration is opening things. Yeah, my husband Ron always comes to the rescue there, and I wanted to mention this. A couple of years ago, the Fraser Valley Water Media Society was lucky enough to put some paintings in the museum in Fort Langley. And so I was afraid to drive there. And so, no, he's supportive of this. He offered to drive me. I'm like, oh, okay. So we get there. It was one of the hottest, muggiest, humid summers. And he's out in the parking lot for 2 hours. And I did my demo and it was over. And I go to get him and he's red and swollen and
Oh
bit.
no.
So the couple of the curators at the museum took care of him. They gave him water and some O's and all. And I'm like, that's support. That's
Wow, what a
support. Yeah.
trooper. I'll keep
Yeah.
him around, boy. What a great
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. Yes, he is. Yeah.
So what's your favorite piece of your artwork that you have?
My favorite piece was the crows that I did last year. I put it on the floor to paint, and I took some metallic colors that I've never used in my life, and I just did swirls and circles right on top of my whole image, and it was a big painting. And then I'm thinking, okay, that says the wind, that says stuff's happening. I really went out of my comfort zone with that.
Cool.
And a lady walked up to me in the museum and she said, is this your painting? And I said, yes, it is. She goes, oh, I feel it. She goes, I've been there. And I said, yeah, unfortunately, I have to. And she goes, well, it's going to over my fireplace, and away it
Oh,
went.
wow.
But I must admit that Kelly was my favorite painting I've ever painted.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. There was just something about those crows in flight and that deep red oranges tucked behind them, and then the swirls. It had action, and I was always wanting to try to paint action. But anyways,
That's
yeah.
cool. Did you continue trying that kind of style? Like after
I never did. It took so
yeah.
much courage. It took
Yeah.
it took so much courage. And then I asked myself, oh, are you going to do that again? And it was almost like I was too shy to. It's just like I did it and it worked, but would I do it again? It's a good question, hon. I'll have to ponder that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, look at you now stepping out of your comfort zone, being
Oh,
here.
yeah.
So
You
keep
can
going,
still
man.
hear you can still hear my voice shaking. I'm sweating. I'm like,
No.
how much more time left do I have to do?
You're doing awesome. You wouldn't even know that you're nervous.
Mhm.
You're doing great. Yeah, I
Thanks.
want to challenge you because I want to see it. I want to see that painting. That sounds amazing.
Oh, okay. I'll send it to you, hon. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. You can just do
Yeah.
another. Yay. I'll be waiting.
Okay. Well, the three I sent you, I really like the little kitty looking Pearl. I liked her looking into the mirror. I've never done one of those, and I thought I'll do that for this show or what we're doing. That was out of my comfort zone. That was
Okay.
a little bit of a face, looking into a mirror, and then the back of the body. That was a little challenge that I put
Let me
myself up
share
to.
my screen so people can see what you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah. And again, I couldn't just do the kitty alone, little Pearl. I had to put pearls on her.
No, we didn't want that one. Right.
Yep, there she is, pretty in
Oh, did
pearls.
I do the right one? Okay. Sorry, it was
Yeah,
coming
you
up
did.
differently for me. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, so um there
Is that
she
the right
is.
one? Okay,
Yep.
good.
Yeah, the little one in the center there.
So
That's the one.
yeah, tell us about that. So that's your cat?
No, that's a little kitten that lives here in the complex.
No.
And she's a patchy little thing.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I just thought I didn't want to do her head on. I've always wanted to try and do this little mirror image, you know. You see it done in portraits a lot, but now that's one thing I can start. I've thought to myself, you can try a little portrait, Nan. One of our art ladies, Carol Portrait, she's just amazing at it. Um, and I thought all these years in awe of her, and I thought, yeah, okay, I'll try a little portrait. Well, they start off pretty, they really do. There's little eyes and little tiny lips. An hour later, I've got a gargoyle. I'm just looking at a gargoyle. I'm like, and I've turned so many portraitures into landscapes. There's a portrait under every landscape, let me tell you. But anyways, I wasn't too intimidated about little kitty face. I thought, man, you really can't go too wrong there. So
Yeah, she's a cutie. So that's
yeah,
acrylic on is it on a board or on canvas?
no, a little canvas.
On
Yeah, a
canvas.
little canvas. And then the enchanted one there, the one beside it to the left, Kelly.
Hmm.
I give art lessons to a really sweet couple. And the one lady, she had gotten that from an old card, and she asked if I could reproduce it.
Right.
And I don't like doing that. So I put crows in the background and a little black cat in the doorway, which again would be, that's the Fraser Valley hun. It's a beautiful picture.
Mm-hmm. It's really cool. And it has that kind of old-timey feel to it too.
Yeah, 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 it does. So I doctored it up a little bit. Yeah, yeah.
I like that. And then you Pansy Parade, that one you sent to me too.
Pansy Parade. That was I teach a couple times a week down at House of Fine Arts here in Abbotsford, and that was done for an art class. And I've been doing that for a while. I started before COVID, and I'm back there. But let me tell you, of all the art classes that have been down there and all the happy people that leave, that was the hardest. I will never ever do pansies.
Really?
No, I just won't do it. It
Huh.
was like there was melting. Look, some went fine. It was how hard I was on myself as an art tutor. I really did think that there was just something about petals. There was just something about petals, and we're just going to leave that one, Kelly, and move on. That's
So
what
why
we're
did you choose
doing.
pansies? Just that you just thought pansies would be not so bad and
Yes, that was,
anyway.
yeah.
Okay. I'll
Yeah,
stop
no
sharing
matter how much orange paint I squirted out, it was. But
But you never
anyways,
know. It looks I like them.
thanks.
Cool. Okay. So those are the three pieces that you have on Art Hive right now, currently.
Yeah, and the park one was one of I painted that early spring last year, and I went and sat in at my little with my chair, and I lugged it all over here. I live beside this little park, Oriole Park, and I was sitting there by myself, and I must admit I was a little melancholy per se. And this little is on cue. This little bunny bounced out of his little lair, and he just kind of sat there and shared an hour with me. And I had to so I put a lot of thought and meaning in that painting. Yeah, that was great. I didn't want to leave the little guy, but he posed best he could, and I presented him best as I could, and I was pleased. I was pleased. But that was a more serious painting. That one took me, I wanted to say, a couple weeks to paint.
All right. Huh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So do some take
absolutely.
you like are very quick and some take you
Yeah,
longer?
yeah, yeah. That was a bigger sized one, and it was on masonite board, and it was about 3 feet by 4 feet, I believe.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is. And so it was a larger painting, and you can only paint 2 hours before your mind starts getting tired, and
Yeah.
your decisions get foggy.
Right.
That's a good way of putting it. So
Yeah.
that's time for a snack and fresh air, and kind of just leave it. And
Yeah.
so to work on it every day for a couple hours, 2 weeks is about right for a large painting.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Not bad. So how do you stay
And
inspired and motivated? I mean,
I say to myself, Nan, there's there's great ways to spend your time, but the time you've got left, you're not wasting your time.
mm,
So this is a good way to spend it.
yeah, that's
And
inspiring.
that's how I see it, Kelly. Yeah, I mean, I have fun too. I love to look at MCCs, and on the weekends we race around, my husband and we look at all the beautiful things. And I can't tell you how many pictures I've got of local cows. He's like, have you not got enough pictures of local cows? But one time it was an accident, but we were coming, I asked him to pull along the highway, and these cows were crossing up on what are they called? Dikes. They were all up on these dikes. I thought, oh, I'm up above them, right?
Right.
And it was just perfect timing, and I didn't realize it. But then the Hells Angels biker group came along too, and he swore that's what I was taking pictures of. So it was a win-win. But anyways, he teases me about that. But anyways, I've entered a lot of cow paintings, as some of my colleagues know,
Mm.
because of it. Yeah, we have a lot of nice cattle around here. So how do I stay inspired? Well, you just have to go for a drive around here, actually. The old trees that are left, and I
Yeah.
don't know, there's not enough time left, really.
Yeah.
As long as I stay away from portraiture and street scenes that has people in it, I think I'll be okay.
Yeah. There's lots of inspiring places in BC. We live in a beautiful area, so
Yeah,
right.
we do. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
are there any particular challenges you face as an artist? And then how do you overcome those
Yeah.
challenges?
Yeah. I find is I tried the social media is a challenge for me. And I found that I'm not as naive as I once was. I've learned a lot about life being naive, let me tell you, but that's another talk show. But I was just 2 weeks ago, I got a message from someone stating that they loved my artwork so much that they wanted to be my collector, and offered me huge amounts of money for my artwork. And
Mm,
I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this. So I can remember at one time I would have believed that and
right.
thought, oh, this is it. But it was what you call an NFC or NF.
NFTs.
Yeah, an NFT. Yeah.
Mm,
So social media, see, for things like that, I'm just so I don't know. I choose sites. I do post a little bit, but they're groups, and they're Canadian, and I trust is a big thing.
mm,
If someone, that's kind of what I've learned about social media. Um, and a lot of artists sell their work, and they do just fine, and all and such. But I know myself, and it's just, I guess I've got my Facebook, um, and I post on that regularly, and my little nickname is Caker. And I like being a different person, because then if people, they don't know really who I am, I like the idea of doing this. So
yeah.
To be
You know,
honest with
kind
you,
of,
Kelly, I still am a people person. I won't paint them, but I still like being engaged with people. Mine liked people what we do. I
mm,
love I love I love that kind of stuff. But as far as like what you're doing, when I first met you, I thought, oh, this is something that would work for someone like me.
mm,
That absolutely, you know the owner. You've been doing this a while. You're successful. I'm good with that. I've got just enough to balance. Um, and now in Abbotsford, there's a new place opened up called Open Space.
oh yeah,
I know I mentioned it to you. She just opened her doors a couple days ago. So there's the odd place that you can fill your time up if you wanted to put art in places now, which
mm-hmm,
is wonderful. And I paint along with probably a lot of people listening to you paint towards the shows, and that takes time too.
right.
It does. So I think I've balanced it just right enough to stay married and paint. We'll put it that way. It's just about right. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. 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 So
Especially when your
yeah.
husband's so supportive in that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's true. That's so true. Yeah. Yeah. So all in all, I'm gonna give some advice, and that is for any form of art, no matter what it is, I think we just have to learn to be a little bit kinder to ourselves.
Mm,
And whichever stage we're at, whatever we conquer, um, it's a big deal. I remember conquering shadows. I was afraid to paint them. I steered away from them. Um, I didn't really think an orange needed a shadow. It's so, but yeah, it does. Um, and finally, I'll tell you this story. I went to visit my sister, and I walked into her. She has a room with all her goodies and stuff, and she's still a smoker. And so she has this room, and so I was in there sitting with her, and I looked up on the wall and I saw this painting, and to tell you the truth, I was envious of it. And I said to my sister, I said, sis, who did that painting? I mean, look at those shadows. She goes, well, don't be so silly. You did it. I'm like, oh my gosh. So then I thought, oh, wow. So eventually, I guess I had learned to paint shadows, but I didn't believe I could for a long time till I saw that painting. I didn't even recognize it in myself.
really? Oh, that's kind of cool. I know we don't
So
celebrate ourselves enough.
we
That's for
don't. No, we don't. So yeah, if we've come across something that we've mastered, it might take us a couple weeks, a couple years, but that time they call it that aha moment.
sure. Mm,
We just move on too fast. But I think we really should look in the mirror and go, yeah, yeah, look at you. You did that.
yeah, totally. Look at you
Yeah.
go. And look at how much you have evolved. And how tell me how your art has evolved over time. And then what do you see for future endeavors?
I think in the beginning I wanted to in the beginning well, age has lots to do with it. I did lots of stone chickens. I thought chickens smoking a joint and you couldn't get much higher was the way to sell cards. And so now it's legalized. It's not really that funny anymore.
Still kind of funny.
So I've gone from a younger Nan to a mature Nan, and it's I've followed it through the stages as with clothes. I'm not, I'm not in that black leather anymore. I'm comfy. I've got my wool wraps. So I think my art's matured as well. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Yeah. But humor will always, there's always going to be some form of humor somewhere along the line.
Mm,
Um, that I've kept throughout all the years. So, um, and I've learned about subject matter again, Kelly. If we were all to paint a handgun and a bullet pointed at hydro bill, nobody's going to hang that on your wall.
No.
I look upon the people like the animal activists that have painted, per se, the disappearing rhino, and they painted it with splashes of red dripping off of it. I'm never going to be that strong of a person, but I sure admire the courage that they believe in to paint it. Yeah. I think I'm going to stick in my enchanted in whimsical world, because that's where I fit. And so but I sure look up to those ones that do what they do. Absolutely.
Well, I think you need to
And as you
stay with
say,
what you're comfortable with, right?
yeah,
And who you are. That's who you are. And
that's who I am.
trying to be somebody
Absolutely.
different. It's not you.
No, and I think somehow we're always impressed, or we're always, we all give it a try. I mean, we all do. It's we've got some beautiful artists in our society, and I know they're just in awe of them. And I've, again, one of them can blend like it's just perfect. And we've all tried certain techniques, for sure, but somewhere we seem to, no matter what, our personalities settle us at some point. It comes back to it. It's such a personal thing. It's one thing it's not a hack. It's who you are.
Yeah.
That's my that's what I kind of talk by. And frustration of, I will tell you this much: the frustration of art and fine art, it should be purchased more. When you see the massive amounts of people purchasing art in the box stores just because it goes over their couch, okay, that's a bit frustrating, because and a color scheme too, that we're never going to change that kind of mindset, so I don't even try. I couldn't paint a painting lavender just to go with someone's couch. Well, I could, but you know my point. That's my point. And art's been exploited so much with I guess I hear stories of, overseas. I mean, it's true. I bought a box of canvases on the black market. No, it wasn't the black market, but they were all just pre-painted with Van Gogh Starry Night on it, and they were $1.50 each.
Really?
Yep, $1.50 each. Yeah. So I mean, you can't. And so I always say to someone, with original art, it should just it's just a shame, actually. But price wise, I'm not a businesswoman when it comes to what I'm worth. So price wise, this is how I do it, Kelly. I think to myself, how much did it cost me to paint it? Okay, because you got to have supplies to paint it. And then I think to myself, where is it showing? Because you have to give that some thought, because they deserve that point of view of it. And then I throw in an extra, maybe for a new pair of shoes or something. And I always think I'm going to price it for someone that would really appreciate an original piece of painting. That's kind of affordable. So I guess I don't go way out to the top. Yeah, I kind of keep it in the middle somewhere. And it seems to work for me. That price point seems to be okay. So I think I'll stick to that too. Yeah. And so but again, if we were showing in New York City, I might be a little bit different, but
quadruple or 10 times the price.
that might be in vogue.
Right. Well, I mean, I get what you're saying about the mass-produced stuff. It's like McDonald's compared to going to a nice restaurant where you actually get food, and yours is the real food instead of the mass-produced. McDonald's.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, loving it's coming up to 11.
It is.
And I wanted to say,
Fast.
I haven't done this alone. I've had a lot of wonderful, like-minded people around me, such as yourself, Kelly, and we all help each other with support and promoting and wish nothing but success beside each other. And I know the president, David Tinkner of the Water Media Society, I know he's very, very pleased that we now have a little show in the Reach here in Abbotsford. And it's nice to see that glow on someone's face of pride.
Yeah.
And I always in the corner. I'm not up front. I'm always going to be at the back looking out. But I get it. It makes you feel, your heart makes you feel warm.
Mm,
It's nice.
for sure.
And so I want to thank you very, very much for letting the public see a little bit behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks
And
for coming and doing this, Nan, because I know that, like you said, we have talked about this previously, and you're like, no, maybe not yet. So now
sweet.
you grabbed it by the horns and you jumped in, and like I'm proud of you for doing it because it takes a lot of guts.
Thanks,
You're
Kelly.
stepping right out of your comfort zone, and I mean you've been with the Art Hive since the beginning of it, so
Yeah.
that's pretty
Yeah.
awesome too.
Thank
So,
you.
I don't, for anyone you listening, does anyone have any questions for Nan, or, because I think you're right, it's 11 o'clock now, so I don't want to keep you all too long.
I just found my unmute button.
Oh,
Hi, Nan. I've been here for a while.
Hi, Jude.
I don't even know why I'm not on there. And hi, Carol and Kelly and Tamara, Wendy. I don't know if that's Tamara from Chilliwack. If it is, hello, old friend. Anyway, I'll give you a call, Nan. That was fun. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Well, I wish everyone happy trails. Absolutely.
happy weekend, and we'll continue this again because we have a lot more questions that we didn't even get through because that went really fast, but.
Okay, Kelly. Well, let the force be with you, and thank you once again for letting me be your guest. I really, it wasn't as it was wonderful.
Yeah, that was fun. It was easy.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. And thanks
Bye,
everybody
all.
for coming.
Bye, all.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you all.
Bye.